everybody, it's Clutch here from the Sodak Motorcycle Blog, and I'm back with you today for another episode of the Rider's Manual Common Task. So what are we doing today? Well, some would say I'd make the argument this is probably the most important and one of the easiest places for you to save money as a motorcyclist, and that's changing your own oil. Not going to the dealership, because let's be honest, you go to the dealership nowadays, you're looking at $100 at least. So, but I'll show you how to do it. You can do it for cheaper. Basically, you'd be looking at the cost of like your filter and your oil and such. So, the first things we're going to go over is the tools you need, obviously, or the things you need. Obviously, you're going to need some motor oil. Now, this is not a debate about motor oil. This is basically you're going to need motor oil. Okay, make sure you get the right kind. If you have a clutch, or if you have a wet clutch, make sure it's JSO MA. Okay, make sure it's JASO MA. So make sure you got that if you got a wet clutch. Otherwise, and for anything else, make sure you got basically the right kind. The best place to find this is in your owner's manual. That's another thing you're going to need. The owner's manual is probably going to tell you how to do it. Alright, so it says right here, your owner's manual is going to tell you exactly what oil you need. They'll give you the specification. You don't necessarily got to use the same brand that they recommend, because it's probably going to be the dealer end, but either way, the biggest thing is make sure you follow your recommendations, right? It'll give you what weight you want to use. It's going to give you the classification number you need to use. And most of them are going to tell you exactly how to do it, how to drain it, how to put a new filter on. They'll probably give you a torque. Actually, this one gives you a torque specification. So it'll tell you how much you need to add. Really, for the most part, your owner's manual should have all this information in it. If it does not, and you're really curious, go ahead and buy a shop manual for your motorcycle. So, once again, your owner's manual, another important part of it. And then obviously, your oil filter. Frankly, I bought this. The main reason I went with the K&N filter this time is because I use AMSOIL. Well, I don't go through a dealer or nothing like that. There's some places where you can actually get it. And I can get it at Fleet Farm around here. So, mainly reason I did is because I could buy my motor oil at Fleet Farm. They had the K&N filter size for my bike, so I bought that there, and also my spark plugs, which I just did. And probably you're going to see here in a later video how to do spark plugs. So that's why I went with the kinds I went. Obviously, you're going to need all the tools to get to it. You're going to need some kind of a filter wrench, which you get kinds like this. If you got a Goldwing, you got that kind. This one's actually pretty handy because you can also do your drain plug, but you can use that kind of filter wrench. You got several different kinds of fuel wrenches, depending on what kind of motorcycle you have. You're going to need to install a new crush washer, which I will show you right here. You have to install probably a new crush washer. My bike says you install it every other time. Honestly, I just bought a bunch of them and just decided, you know what, I'm going to change it every single time. And then obviously any other tools you're going to need to get to the plug. So, and like I said, I'm not going to go into every single tool I use, because in the end, every bike's just a little bit different. So, but anyways, now we've come to probably the most fun step could be is we're going to go ahead and hop on this and take it for a ride, get the oil warmed up a little bit. Now you could do this step as well, just pull it out of the garage, fire up the engine, let it run until it gets to idle temp, but frankly, riding the thing's more fun, and it's just about lunchtime, so that's what we're going to do. One thing I forgot to tell you about is you're also going to need something to catch the oil with. Any old pan would work. I mean, heck, you can even take one of them big oil jugs and cut the blade on its side, cut the top part off. But big thing is, obviously, pan like this, pull your cover before you drain the oil. And I've done that before without it, and it kind of sucks, because then you got oil piling up and you need to try to get that off, and you're trying to put your hand in hot oil. So it's kind of a pain in the neck. And the reason why you want to catch the oil is because, well, what we're going to do is I'm going to put the oil in that old used oil can, the oil jug there, and I'm going to take it and recycle it. That's one part of changing your oil, is you got to take the oil somewhere. And for the most part, you can take it to any auto parts store, and they'll take it for free. So don't dump it down the drain. Don't dump it on the ground. Don't do any of that stuff. Do the right thing. Put it in a bottle. Take it down to your local auto parts store, and chances are you'll be able to get rid of it, no problem. Alright, so trying to find a drain plug. You're going to want to go find the bottom of your engine. Chances are the plug should be pretty close to the bottom. You can see mine is right there. Good flashlight. You can see my drain plug's right there. My oil filter's right there. If your manufacturer's cool, they're pretty close. Like I said, you should be able to find it it should be right on the bottom of the engine, just like so. For the GL 1800, the older version, it's set up just like this. Just like you see it right here. So, obviously you kind of want, one thing I do is I'll do a little bit of an inspection while I'm under here. I just want to look underneath just to see if there's any obvious leaks or issues or anything like that. Everything looks just fine here, so we're going to carry on some more. Okay, so now we're ready to go. Bike's still good and warm. First thing we're going to start with is we're going to take off this drain plug. Now, remember, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So we want it to go this way, okay? We don't want to tighten it, we want to loosen it. So make sure you loosen it. Now, it should either pop through this, or we can grab a socket. Actually, I'm just going to grab the socket. Take this the easy way anyway. Once again, double check your socket. Make sure you're going the right direction, because the last thing you want is to have a problem. Now, and we have an issue here with, oh no, there we go. Okay, so we got our socket on there. Let's get her broke free. You might have to put a little force on it, just like I had to do there. And there we go. Now, before you drop this plug, get your drain pan under there. Now, there ain't a lot of clearance here, so, and you're gonna have to, I don't know if you can see it or not, you're just gonna have to take my word for it that I'm actually pulling it out of there. So when you're pulling a plug, you're going to want to get her right to that edge where you're going to yank it, and then you just want to get her right out. But kind of keep pressure on it till you know it's loose. It's going to be warm. It's actually quite warm. It's actually really warm. And then you get it just out like that. And then you go owie owie because it's kind of burning your hand. That just burns the hand just a tad. She's warm oil. Now, granted, had I not taken this for a full ride, like down into town and back at darn near full speed, the oil would be cooler. But nice thing about good warm oil as well, it drains out fairly quick, and you'll get all of it out of the engine. So let that drain for a second. While that's draining, we're going to get to this oil filter here. See if I can get my little wrench on it. It's not really wanting to go. Maybe. Okay, I think it's on there. So, now this one, obviously, we ain't going to be able to do with socket because there's not a ton of room in there. So, I'm going to move this back just a tad. Get us a little better shot at it. And
Make sure we're on the right end here. And get that a little bit further out of the way here. And then, of course, I'm way in a bad spot. We'll get this, try to get this filter wrench on there if we can. It doesn't look like it wants to go on there for us, though. Which, yeah, there was days where you'll have that. It's got to be just right. There it goes. Like I said, when it goes, it goes. So we're going to go ahead and wrench her off with this wrench. That's what's nice about this one I've got. It's an actual full-on, goes all the way on it, kind of a filter wrench. So it's actually pretty nice. And then, yep, you just slowly but surely start pulling it off. It takes a second. Yes, this would be a lot easier if I had a lift, but guess what? I don't have a lift. And I would figure most of you at home probably don't have lifts either. So, but especially with this bike, especially if you got a bike that's got a center stand, it's quite a bit easier for you to do an oil change. It really is. So you can see I got that filter loose now. So now what I'm doing is I'm just kind of I get the filter broke free. I let that oil that's kind of trapped behind it come out real quick. It's kind of what I'm waiting for now. And then I just kind of slowly but surely, similar deal, take it off of there. Now, this is kind of where it's kind of a trick to get this off too, because it's going to want to drop on you. And it's kind of a pain to get this thing just right so it pops off, but it doesn't like fall and make a mess. And it's kind of just make that do what I want it to do here, and we're going to just yank it out of there. And there. And there's the filter. Obviously we're not pulling the drain pan yet because we want that to finish draining, but there you go. There's our filter. Out it is. Perfect. So put that in its little spot. We're going to let that continue to drain. Now, here's what I'm looking for. Now you got these out. Well, we're letting that drain. We're going to come back in here with the flashlight. And then we'll take a look. I want to take a look at the mating surfaces. I want to take a look at where the plugs go. Where the plug and the filter go. Let me see if I can get you in a better spot here so you can see it. Like I said, it's not a ton of space under this. So what I'm looking for, I want to look at both these mating surfaces. First thing on the filter, I want to make sure that there's no gasket there. Because here's the deal, the gasket on your filter, sometimes will get left behind. So one check I made is I usually will check the filter first to make sure we're not, make sure there's not a gasket on the filter. And I'm going to check on here too, where the filter meets up, and I'll make sure there's no gasket there. And I'm also going to take a look at where the drain plug is. I'm going to look at both of them, make sure that the mating surfaces don't have any issues, like there's no crud on there, or there's no pieces of like a gasket left behind, anything like that. So I'm just going to go there, just double check the mating surfaces, make sure we're good there. Alright, so one thing we want to do, because I'm going with, if you're using the same brand oil filter you did the last time you did your oil change, you're fine. Just get the same one. But on this one, even though the cross-reference said that this K&N filter is the right number, I'm still going to take a look. I'm going to take a visual check. I'm going to take it with the cap still on. I'm just going to throw them, mate them together. They look like they're the same size there. And I'm going to look at the threads. And it looks to me like the threads are the same size as well. So I think we got a good filter here. And that's just the thing right there is, you always want to verify this. And even if it's the same brand, it's still not a bad idea just to double check to make sure that everything is well with it, which it looks like it is. Obviously, we're not going to need this one this time because it's already got, the K&N's already got the bolt on it. And anyways, and besides, plus when we're putting a filter on, we're not going to be using, you don't use a wrench to put a filter on anyway. Now, obviously the manual will give you a torque spec. It kind of depends on who you are. Basically what I'll do is I'll let it get matted down, and I'll take my hand and I'll tighten down, kind of as tight as I can by hand. And usually I've got enough oil on my hand where about the time the torque's right, it'll sit just right. I mean, you could get out the torque wrenches if you wanted to. And honestly, on this one, you could sure do that. But honestly, in the end, it's probably not really necessary. And actually, so now according to K&N, and some of them will have the directions right on the side of it. The Honda ones don't, but most of your American filters, your K&N, Wix, all of them will have them. I would say Fram, but frankly, you don't want to put a Fram on. So this one gives you this one basically tells you to get it till the surface mates up and then go another 3/4 to 1 turn with it. So, basically something similar to that. Either way, you don't have to wrench on the oil filter for days. And for the most part, I would be willing to say that the great majority of your oil filters out there were wrenched on way too tight anyway. And that goes for even the so-called expert technicians you deal with. So there's the filter. Let's get that out of the way. So, other thing. Once again, my bike has what's called crush washers you put on. So, I bought some crush washers. And actually, I'm pretty sure, so I bought a set from Partzilla. I just threw them in one day because I was already buying stuff from them, so the shipping wasn't going to hose me on it, but we got that one ready to go. Get rid of this. Just throw this crush washer away. There, it's gone. We don't want to deal with it anymore. Once you've swapped them, get rid of that old one. So, I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to put this oil filter on. First of all, we're going to turn this just a little bit that way. I still can't see it, but first thing you're going to do, don't take this plastic layer off until you're absolutely ready to put it on. It's there to just protect it. So normally with an oil filter, you'd take some oil and you'd spread it around the gasket. However, this one's pre-lube, but you know what? I'm going to overdo it anyway just because why not? No sense doing it if you're not going to overdo it. So, but there you go. Basically what I do is I'll take a little bit that's coming off the engine and just spread it around. You can either use the old stuff or the new stuff. I usually just use the old stuff that's dripping off it and go with that. So, all right, let's put this filter on. Let's move you out of the way though. And then you just kind of get it up in there. Actually, and then just gently screw it on. Just make absolutely sure that it's threading on. It should thread on nice and easily, just like that. It should thread on, like I said, nice and easy, just like that. If it's not threading on nice and easy, just like that, there's something wrong. Stop and make sure you're getting it on right, because it should go just on there, just nice and easy like. So we're going to torque that down. And then, yep, there we go. I'd say we've hit the mating surface now. All right. And actually, you know what? I think we're going to use just because it's hard to get my hand in there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to use this to torque it down. So it said 3/4 to 1 turn. So actually, let's grab the 17. So we got our 17 here, and what we're going to do, we're just going to do what the K&N box says. We're going to give it we're going to go, so there's a 1/4. An 1/8. Another 1/8, that's half. Another 1/8. And another 1/8. There we go. That's about 3/4 there. That's a 3/4 turn right there. And there we go. Our filter is on. We should be good. There we go. Like it should be. Now let's let it drain for a little bit longer. Okay. Well, while you're waiting for that to drain, let's enjoy ourselves a Busch Latte. So, obviously not sponsored, but frankly I don't care. But anyways, so why should you do an oil change by yourself? Well, I'll make the case for it. So, like I said before, you're looking at, anyway, nowadays you're probably looking at, easily $100 for an oil change. Granted, that's everything, but for the most part, you're looking at probably at least $100 nowadays, and it could be more. It all depends on the rate that they want to charge you. You know, is what it is, right? So now, everything I bought for this oil change, that includes 4 quarts of AMSOIL, which is really expensive oil. It's like $16 a quart. It's spendy oil. $16 a quart, Fleet Farm. K&N filter, which, if I remember right, this filter was like, hold on, got to do the math in my head here. I think I want to say this was around like $15 for the K&N filter, which is actually cheaper than this one. Last I checked, this was $20 last year. I think this filter I bought last year is the one that actually comes with the wrench and the kit, just like that. I think this one was, it was $25 for that. That was last year. So, if I remember right, I think down at my local Honda shop, it was like $22, $23 when I bought one 3 years ago. So, obviously that's gone up. Oh, and my spark plugs. Spark plugs, six spark plugs, 6 NGK spark plugs, which are like $3.50 a piece. AMSOIL and a K&N filter, and I got it for just under $100. So, for what I probably would have paid someone to do it, I got an additional 6 spark plugs. Now, and frankly, those spark plugs, that would have cost probably another $100 to put them in by the time you did the parts price for them and the labor price for them. But if you do this yourself, first of all, you don't have to try to wrench around a schedule. You can just do it. Now, obviously, if you're on the road or whatever, I get that if you're on the road. And I'm sure if I get to the point where if I'm ever taking like really super long road trips to the point of like, you know, these are like 15,000 mile road trips or something like that, then yeah, I'm probably going to pay somebody to do it because I don't have the facilities to do it. But if you're at home, you have the facilities to do it. You know, I always say it's always better to do it yourself. Plus, if you do it yourself, you know it's done right. no one knows your motorcycle like you do, or shouldn't know it like you do. And frankly, here's the thing: is it going to be either you change the oil, you trust yourself, or is it going to be that 22-year-old that just graduated from from what MTI or whatever the hell it is, the tech school for motorcycle repair, and he came in that morning on a bike that on like some weird little Gixxer, and he's a maniac, and he's not very smart, and he's like 21 years old, right? So who are you going to trust, you or that? Also, like I said, you get more bang for your buck if you do it yourself. And to me, and granted, this is me personally. This is why I do it. In a way, it's almost therapy for me too. In a way, to work on my motorcycle, it's just another way for me to enjoy it. Like I truly do enjoy working on it when I have to work on it. Granted, I haven't had to do anything real major with it. I've been pretty fortunate. I mean, obviously, it helps having a Honda reliability behind you. But honestly, pretty much every bike nowadays that's been made, I'd make the argument that every bike's been made pretty much since around 2000 is pretty damn reliable. Like, they're all reliable now, I think. I truly think they're all pretty much reliable nowadays. So the whole, back in the day when one brand was not mechanically sound, for the most part, I think they're all good nowadays. So, but yeah, it's fun to do. It's enjoyable to do. You save some money, and hey, beer while you work, right? By the way, if you're gonna have beers while you're working on stuff, I would say 1-2 max. Don't get plowed. Don't get plastered, because then you're gonna make mistakes if you're drunk trying to work on your bike. So, I'd say maybe 1 or 2 at the most is kind of what I. And if you really want to drink, for the most part, save it to the end of the day. Thing is, right now, honestly, I'm waiting for the thing to drain, and I just wanted to have one right now. So that's why we're having one right now. Every bike is a little bit different. Every bike has a different way of doing it. But essentially, it's the same steps. It's you're pulling a plug, you're draining out oil, you're refilling it with new oil. It's pretty much, really changing oil is probably one of the simpler tasks you can do. It really is. I mean, yes, there's things you can screw up, but honestly, if you understand the concept of righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, as in pretty much every screw or nut you work with, you screw it in to the right, which is clockwise, to tighten it, and you screw it to the left, which is counterclockwise, to loosen it. If you understand that concept, and also you're not one of these people that thinks everything has to be good and tight like a gorilla wrenched it on all day, you're probably going to be able to do this just fine. There's plenty of resources out there. If you got a Goldwing, one of the best resources out there is Goldwing Dots for just kind of that real how to do it. And frankly, in the end, your bike should have the best resource for all this. It's called your owner's manual. Now, some of you, I'd be willing to bet most of you don't know where this is. But this is definitely something you need to have this. Chances are it's going to have a section that tells you exactly how to change the oil on it. For the most part, your owner's manual is going to tell you how to do all the simple tasks. Granted, anymore, it's not going to tell you how to adjust your valves or anything like that, but, this one, now granted, this is a 2005 manual, so it's, almost 20 years old, but for the most part, it's going to tell you how to change the oil, probably tell you how to change the spark plug, and and plus other things it will tell you is how to operate it, there's so much stuff that, I see so many questions online all the time, and they're always, so many questions of, how do I do this and how do I do that, what should I have this setting at, I'm trying to think of some good ones I've seen over the years. But, just simple questions. I would be willing to bet that half of the questions you find on forums are questions that could be answered by just looking at your owner's manual. Oh, I know what it was. It was the how much oil do you need to put in when you change the oil on a Honda. And, well, you know what's funny? Right here in the manual on the GL 1500. Add engine oil. Fill the crankcase with recommended oil, approximately 3.9 U.S. quarts. That's after the oil change. That's after the filter change. Some people think that doesn't include filter. Yes, it does include the filter. But like I said, if you want to know how much capacity your thing takes for oil, you know what? Take a look at your owner's manual. It's pretty simple. Just look at the stupid thing every once in a while. But anyways, that's another rant that's over. But all right, I'll see you in a few. All right, let's put this back together, shall we? Need a rag. Okay, so we've got a half an hour. I'd say we're pretty much all good to go here. We're gonna get a little bit on the carpet here, but there we go. You can see it right there. Got some oil there we're gonna get moved. Okay, so there we go. All right. So there you go, our little... So you're, like I said before, you're gonna wanna get all this, try to get as much of that gunk off of there as you can. Kind of get this main surface nice and cleaned up. And you're gonna put the plug in like so. And you're gonna start threading it. Now, when you're threading this plug in, it should go in just like this, is nice and gentle. Notice how it's going in nice and easy. If it binds up in any way, pull the plug out, try it again. This plug should not bind, the plug should not bind up at all whatsoever. There should be no binding up at all. Absolutely none. If there's binding up, like I said, there's something wrong. Back it out and try it again. If you continue to force it in there, there's a chance that you cross-thread it. And, well, you cross-thread this one, well, it kind of sucks. Fortunately, that has never happened to me, and I hope it never does. But yeah, you cross-thread this, you are screwed. You are absolutely screwed, because that means you gotta either put a helicoil in there, hope to God it works, tap it with an oversize, hope to God it works. And if none of that works, guess what? You get to split the case, or you get to pull the engine apart, and well, that just costs a lot of money. Now, I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm just telling you this to make you aware of, you know, you kind of got to pay attention to what you're doing with this. But like I said, I really think if you got patience and you're not a complete idiot, this is actually pretty easy to do. So now we're gonna grab our 17 millimeter socket here. Now, because we don't have, well, I do have a torque wrench. I could get it in there, but frankly, I don't want to mess with getting it in there. So what we're gonna do is basically we're gonna take the end of this and we're just gonna tap it. We're gonna take our hand like this and basically tap it. We're gonna go tap, tap, tap. We're gonna tap it 3 times. I don't know how good of a procedure it is, but I do know this. When I worked at the TLE in Walmart, this is how we torque down stuff that we didn't know the torque spec for. We just call it 3 taps and basically tap the wrench 3 times. So I'm gonna demonstrate it here for you. So 1, 2, 3, and there we go. Did you see that? Where you're tapping it like 1, 2, 3. So actually, I'm gonna break her again just so I can show it to you. So it's tight right there, right? So there you go now. So, and here we go. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3. Just like that. Just tap her 3 times, and there you go. Your torque should be fairly close to set. All right, everything's on there and good to go. Now it's time to go add some oil. Okay, so next thing we need to do, we need to fill this up. Now for GL 1500 or GL 1800, pretty simple. Dipstick's right here, and actually it makes it pretty easy because it's big enough. It's got a dipstick. Some of your bikes you got to deal with the sight glass on the bottom of the engine. It all depends on what you got. So, but for me, quick and easy. It's a dipstick. So obviously, to fill this up, first thing you will need is you will need a funnel. Don't try to do the whole, you know, I'm gonna guesstimate and try to aim. No, just get a funnel and put it in with a funnel. Okay. We already know what our capacity is, 3.9. So what we're going to do is we're going to put 3 jugs in, and we're probably going to get, excuse me, on our last one, we're probably going to go down to this little 4 mark on the bottle, just to make sure we don't overfill it. I truly believe that, I mean, well, it's actually no knowledge. Overfilling an engine can be just as bad as underfilling an engine. So I'm one of those fans where it says, hey, it says go 3.9 quarts. You know what? I'm going to put like 3.8 in, and I'm going to double check it to make sure. That's usually how I do it. If you're curious as to what oil I'm using, I use AMSOIL. They call it their metric motorcycle oil. It's a 1040. If I remember right, I think the 06 and later Goldwings call for a 1030. They also make a 1030, but it's a metric oil. It's 1040. It meets JASO MA specification, which is what required. And, you know, I got no complaints with it. I run it at about, depending on the year, I get anywhere from 8 to 10,000 miles on it, and that's the reason I go with it. And even though the Honda called for interval is 8,000 miles on this, I put the AMSOIL in, so I feel better about going that far. I don't know. That's just what I do. So there you go. If you're wondering what oil I use, that's what I use. Hoping for one of these days maybe I can get AMSOIL sponsorship. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but hey, never know. Hey, AMSOIL, if you're watching this, I would love to be. I love your products, and you don't pay me to use them. I would love to be a brand ambassador for you. Just letting you know. Just, feel free, reach out. Reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook, or I would give you my personal email address, but I don't want any of these crazies on the internet to have it. I bet you that's pretty darn close. Close enough. All right. So, next part of this, we get to see if we did it right or not. So, we're going to pull that out. Oops. And not drop it on the floor and make a mess, which I just did. And we're going to go ahead and pop this in there. And we're going to start it and see what happens. But before we start this, obviously, we want to make sure that we got the doors open, because if we're running, you don't run an engine in a closed garage. It's just a bad idea. Okay, so things to be mindful of. That oil pressure switch. Be mindful where yours is at. Now, some of you it's just a level switch, but I know on the Goldwing it's a pressure switch. And we're going to start it up. We're going to wait for that to go out. It should go out pretty darn quick. If it doesn't go out like right away, like it should be damn near instant it should go out. If it doesn't go out right away, shut the thing off, because there's something wrong. But it looks like everything's okay. Let's take a look underneath. Let's see if we got any leaks. And it looks like I don't see anything spewing out. That's really what we're looking for. We're looking for to see if anything's like spewing out bad or anything like really like bad is going on. But everything looks well underneath here, so I think we're gonna call that good. Let's check this oil, shall we? It's been probably a little longer than 5 minutes, but now GL 1800, proper way to check the oil. You run it, and then you let it sit for 5 minutes, and then you put it in like that. You don't screw in the dipstick. You put it in like that, and then you check. And oh yeah, we're good. Oh yeah, we're plenty good. We are golden. Yep, we are halfway up the safe area. And this is for you that have not checked an oil before. So basically, most of your dipsticks you're going to have, and it'll explain this in your owner's manual, but on a 1500, that little bottom detent there, that's low, that's safe, or that's the max, right? So basically, you're looking for it to be, on any dipstick, you basically want it to be between the two marks. You see, like right there, it's about halfway up, right there at the C. Maybe it's a little bit over half, but either way, we're in pretty good shape with the oil there. I could put more in, but honestly, I kind of don't want to, because I'm happy where it's at. Yeah, what the heck? We'll put in just a little bit more. We'll put her just right at 3.9, like you should. Well, as close as we can get to 3.9. Oh yeah, perfect. There we go. That'll work. But we'll let that settle down some more there. We're not really going to get a good view on it. Oh, there we go. And she's just about there. Let her sit just a few more minutes here. Next, let's give her one more good check and we should be good to go. Yep, there we go. It is a little bit higher. Yep, there we go. I think we're good. Yep, we're sitting at about, that's right about to the top of the full line, just about. It's pretty close. So we're going to call that good now. And all right, that's it for the oil changing part. Let's clean up the shop. Now, as far as disposal goes, it's all going to depend on where you live. I know for us here in South Dakota, basically we can take the filter, and as long as it drains out for a day, you can just throw it right in the trash. So what I'm doing here is I got my little red solo cup here, and we're just going to pop it in there. We're going to put that up over here, and then we're just going to leave that there for a day, and then tomorrow I'm going to throw that in the trash. Now, once again, as far as the oil goes, we're going to take that, we're going to dump it in this little jug here, and we're going to take it down to, well, for me it's O'Reilly Auto Parts because there's one right beside me. So we're going to take that down here shortly. We'll recycle it. Like I said, you should recycle your oil. Or if you got a better use for it, I mean, some guys have, like, you know, you got like an oil burner heater or something like that, they'll take it, you know, hell, use it there, or, you know, either way, there's ways to get rid of it without dumping it down the drain. So, but anyways, that's it. We did the oil change, we changed the filter, we changed the oil, everything's good to go. And like I said, pretty simple task. I mean, it is a task that you can run yourself into trouble with if you're not paying attention. But if you got halfway decent brain on top of your head and you're not a complete idiot, you can do it just fine. And you're going to save some money, and you get the satisfaction of doing it yourself. So, once again, I'm Clutch from the Sodak Motorcycle Blog. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you like. Hit that bell notification icon if you want to be reminded of future videos. However, you don't even have to do that. Just remember, Thursdays at 7 o'clock Mountain Time is when we release our new videos here in North America. So if you like the video, hit the like button. If you dislike the video, hit the dislike button. Go ahead and leave a comment. You know, you can reach out to me with questions either via the comments on YouTube, or you can reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram. You can find me on both by searching Sodak Motorcycle Blog, and also on Instagram you can also search Clutch605, and that will also bring me up. So anyways, thanks again for joining me on this edition of the Rider's Manual Common Tasks, and we will see you later.